Many UFO researchers believe there is an organized government conspiracy to suppress evidence, but the existence of this conspiracy is still officially denied.
When the Soviet Union fell, so too did their elaborate mechanism to repress UFO evidence. And recently, details of encounter after encounter have been uncovered.
Other details have also emerged. Documentation of how the Soviet Union managed to keep this evidence suppressed. Here's our story. UFOs are not confined to American skies. For example, this gigantic hovering triangle was filmed by a Soviet government cameraman in 1968. There is other compelling evidence on the ground. These strange spheres were found at 2 alleged UFO landing sites. And this man's body is riddled with metals that could be from alien implants.
His bones and flesh were packed with this strange material.
The first solid hint of Soviet encounters came in the fall of 1989, when the official news agency TASS reported that aliens had landed 300 miles from Moscow. For journalists like Antonio Huneeus, who had spent years seeking information about Soviet encounters, the report was a bombshell. It confirmed that the Soviet government was taking UFOs seriously.
TASS basically reported the following. A UFO had landed at a park. It was called the South Park in the city of Voronezh. And there were a number of kids playing soccer. And these bizarre aliens came out. They were described as very tall and with practically no neck. In that sense, they were very different from the type of aliens we report here in America. And also some kind of walking robot or something, almost like a TV set with legs. And it was an analysis of the holes made by the legs of the UFO landing. And by studying the depth of the hole and so on, they were able to estimate that an object weighing 11 tons had basically landed on the park.
Hundreds of Russians, including police, witnessed this UFO landing. It was part of a wave of sightings of triangular UFOs that were also seen and photographed in Belgium. Incredibly, in 1990, one of these UFOs reportedly attacked a radar antenna near the Soviet city of Samara. It was one of the most shocking UFO military confrontations on record.
A triangular-shaped object flew near a military base in Samara and then landed right next to a mobile air defense radar unit. Apparently, the radar unit's turn to pick up, this UFO. The UFO shot a beam at the radar and basically destroy completely that radar unit.
The Samara incident was witnessed by a Soviet officer named Rudzit. In this newly released Russian documentary, Rudzit's face is hidden because at the time of the interview, he feared he'd be court-martialed for speaking publicly.
I saw with my own eyes the antenna destroyed by an explosion. It was due to a very strong blow from without. I saw burnt paint and melted metal parts of the antenna and also reduction gears scattered all around.
That same year, this startling video of a cigar-shaped UFO was shown on Soviet-controlled television. Russian military personnel also videotaped fleets of UFOs over a nuclear power plant in Greifswald, East Germany, just weeks before the Berlin Wall came down.
First, you have a large crowd of people who saw this. Then you have multiple videos, some taken from quite apart from each other and totally independent from each other, which clearly show the same object or cluster of objects. And then third, this is not just anywhere. It happened to be near an atomic facility, and most of the witnesses were either Russian or then still East German military and scientific personnel. So you would assume they were qualified observers.
When the failed coup in 1991 finally ended Soviet communism, credible Russians began to speak out about alien encounters. American journalist George Knapp learned about years of secret UFO studies, incidents, and systematic collection of UFO evidence.
It was our hope that after the Berlin Wall fell and the social upheavals in Russia that we could go over there and kick in the door on the UFO secrets.
By developing high-level Russian contacts, Knapp arranged meetings with former scientists and military people, including Colonel Boris Sokolov.
Вот этих аномальных явлений, понимаете? A directive from the Chief of General Staff ordered the whole Soviet Army to study the UFO phenomenon, and we did it for 10 years. The directive stipulated that all UFO information and evidence should be reported by every military office without delay to the UFO Analyzing Center.
Sokolov told Knapp a chilling story about a UFO that nearly triggered a nuclear war.
October 5th, 1982, I was ordered to immediately go to the Ukraine and ICBM base. On October 4th, from 4 to 8 p.m., the base observed a UFO. At the same time, on the control panel, they received an order to prepare the watch of the ICBMs. The lights lit up and the launch codes enabled the missiles. Dozens of officers witnessed this.
It was their impression that the UFOs were trying to send some sort of a message such as, this may be your most powerful technology, but it doesn't impress us. And Americans should know about that as well, because in 1975, our nuclear bases were visited along the Canadian border, one right after another, 5 in all, over a 2-week period. According to documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, the launch control codes of our missiles were changed.
Following Knapp's trip to Russia, other American journalists began to uncover more evidence of UFOs over the Soviet Union. In this extraordinary footage, a Soviet cameraman filming a military propaganda movie captured images of an enormous triangular UFO. Before any jets could be scrambled to investigate it, it flew behind a cloud and disappeared. The film vanished too, stashed away in a KGB vault. And that vault may be holding even more dramatic evidence of UFOs in Soviet skies.
I'm virtually certain that there is a large cache of information about UFOs in the files of the KGB. I've been told that by former KGB operatives. It's been hinted at by people in the Ministry of Defense in Russia. How you get to it, I don't know, because the KGB has written to ufologists recently to said, we don't have anything. I think that's an outright lie. But how you get it, I don't know.
George Knapp also believes that this recently discovered triangular UFO footage mirrors many other videos and photos taken in other countries.
I've seen similar likenesses from all over the world. Hudson Valley in New York, witnesses have seen these triangles. In Belgium, they've seen these triangles. Area 51 in Nevada, they've seen them. And now they've seen them in Russia.
Perhaps the best physical evidence to date of alien visitation was obtained by Knapp on his trip to Russia. In an Encounters exclusive, he has permitted us to show it for the first time. These tiny spheres were recovered at 2 UFO landing sites by former Soviet government biologist Dr. Yuri Simakov, an expert in UFO trace evidence cases.
Dr. Simakov and his colleagues had subjected this material to all sorts of tests, and they can't figure out what it is. They've read all the literature, and they can find no natural explanation why these balls would be in the soil, one near Moscow and another in Kazakhstan, separated by hundreds of miles out in the middle of nowhere. He speculated that the material seemed to have all the basic building blocks of life, and that somehow maybe they were containers of life that were sent here from somewhere else. He put them in water, and they split open like seed pods. They sort of acted like seed pods. I don't think anything ever grew out of them. No aliens sprouted out of them, but he was hoping that maybe we could come up with a solution to the mystery if he gave us some of the material, and we brought it over to American scientists for analysis.
Knapp says American scientists have determined that the spheres are not the residue of insects, plants, or any other earthly substance. In fact, they may be the product of some sort of intense heat. While these spheres continue to baffle experts, our investigation has uncovered other physical evidence of Soviet alien encounters. A Russian named Nikolai Tsigachev now has metal deposits throughout his body after an alleged UFO abduction experience in 1990.
The Mercury Man is an absolutely fascinating case. There are obvious mental health ramifications for anyone who says that they have been abducted by aliens. Remember what the mental health system in Russia was for many years. In essence, if you were put into a mental hospital, you were put into a gulag. That's where political prisoners were put, and you were never heard from again. So it would not be unusual for Russians, even today, to be a little suspicious about reporting this kinds of activity, this kind of experience to anyone in a position of authority.
It stands to reason that this phenomenon is a global one, and that the truth, the hidden truth about UFOs may not be confined to the skies over America.
This international evidence needs to be gathered, monitored, and analyzed on a worldwide basis. But at the moment, it seems, we have a hard enough time keeping track of our own skies.
Encounters will be right back.